Hello, everybody, and welcome into my latest live broadcast. It is the 9th of August, 2023. Today it is Wednesday. My name is CareyHolzman. Thanks you guys so much for joining me. A special shout out to Avery Ramsdorf, Paul O'Brien, and Sarge Tech, who all contributed Amazon gift cards prior to the show starting today. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. Our good friend Luke Greeny pops in the chat, says he's not going to be participating in chat, but he will be listening to the show today and watching it. Apparently he had an emergency room visit to deal with some kidney stones. That is not fun, but hopefully you're on the mend, and we'll see if we can't keep you distracted, and at least for a couple hours here today as we talk about another mini PC from yet another manufacturer we've never heard of before. This is a fascinating phenomenon. I don't know if you're keeping score, but this is number like 20, 17, I'm not sure. There's a lot of different mini PC manufacturers. This is sort of a gold rush, if you will, of mini PC offerings. As a result, there's a lot of different mini PCs out in the market today, and they vary in price, capability, whether or not they're built here in the US or supported here in the US. A lot of them shipping out of China have no US support, which means if you have a warranty issue, you mail it back to China, which could cost as much as the mini PC, depending on what mini PC you bought. And it's something worth considering when you're looking at purchasing from places like AliExpress, where you can get really good deals, but you're kind of stuck with whatever you buy from there. So today I'm going to talk about this PC from the folks over at CyberGeek PC, and we'll talk about the pros and the cons. And as you can tell from the title, this is a $120 PC. So what do you think you're going to get for $120 US dollars? Do you think you're going to get 2 terabytes of storage? Do you think you're going to get the latest and greatest i9 processor or Ryzen 7 or Ryzen 9 processor? Do you think you're going to get discrete graphics? Do you think... I want you to honestly adjust your expectations, because it might actually impress you for what you're getting for the money, or it might not. I mean, it kind of depends on you, but I think it's a fair deal if you don't need a machine that costs $1,000 when all you really need is a $120 machine to do the job. Yes, you could look at buying something used off of eBay or something. However, if you do that, you may end up with a machine that's not Windows 11 compatible. You may end up with a machine that has no warranty. So if you want that Windows 11 compatibility and you want some semblance of warranty, then you want to buy new. So there's a lot of different decisions the consumer has to make in order to be a happy consumer with your purchasing decision. We're going to go over that today. Before we get started, I want to give a quick just raise your awareness to a couple of deals that are happening at Amazon right now. I don't know how long these deals are going to go on, so I thought let's get them out of the way right now. Let me go over to my Amazon page here. Window capture. Hold on a second. Let's computer stuff. You know, I'm only a computer tech, so the computer stuff is really very difficult for me. No, actually, this is an OBS issue. I have to select the screen I want to capture, which I have now done. Usually I do that before the show. All right, so here, check this out. Solid state drive prices, as you know, have been falling, as have RAM prices. And they're just continue to fall. You can see here an Intel 670p, 1 terabyte, NVMe Gen 3, it's QLC type NAND memory, $34.99. That's including free shipping. The 2 terabyte is $69.99, but before you get too excited about that deal, this is a mediocre drive as far as performance goes. You're going to get, somewhere around, well, it says up to 3,500 on this. I don't know. I would look at that level. The Samsung 970 EVO Plus 2 terabyte is now at $74.30 with free shipping. That is the, if not the fastest, one of the fastest Gen 3 drives on the market with a 5-year warranty. Now, I can explain the reason why the Intel drive is so inexpensive, and that's because Intel sold off their solid-state drive division to SK Hynix. So SK Hynix has their own drives, South Korea Hynix, but the whole division of Intel, including the employees, that whole department went to SK Hynix. So they're basically still making the same product with different branding and then doing their own further research and development under their own brand name. So anything that's an SSD with the name Intel on it, for obvious reasons, SK Hynix wants it out of the marketplace. So they're going to try and squeeze out as much money as possible from what's remaining of the inventory. That's why the price doesn't just drop to $5. They're going to keep lowering the price until they're sold out to see how many, when they lower the price, there's a spike in sales, I imagine, and then the sales plateau. And then they're like, okay, we still have a bunch of inventory. What do we do? Lower the price a couple more dollars. And then those sales will spike again, and then or they sell out. We just don't know. That's why I wanted to get these two out of the way. Now with Samsung, I just don't know why they're blowing these out so cheaply, unless they're focusing all of the manufacturing on Gen 4 and Gen 5 solid-state drives. However, most people would be hard-pressed to tell the difference between a Gen 3, Gen 4, and a Gen 5 solid-state drive under ordinary computer usage. It's going to boot up about the same. Program's going to take about the same amount of time. There are a few power users, maybe a lot of people who watch YouTube videos are power users. I don't know. But I don't need to tell the power users. You guys already know. So for everybody else who doesn't know, save your money. Gen 3 drive, it'll work fine in a Gen 4 or a Gen 5 motherboard. And 3,600 megabytes per second is nothing to sneeze at. Okay, getting on to today's computer. This is from a company called CyberGeek PC. Now, this computer is about 2 years old, and it's brand new. I know that's a little confusing, right? Intel and AMD, they come out with chips every year. And so before they're still manufacturing the chip from last year, they're manufacturing the new chip that's replacing it, and they may have existing inventory in the channel, in the retail channel, for a couple of years before that. So obviously, as things get older, they get cheaper. And if you look here, this is an 11th gen Intel Jasper Lake. It's a Celeron N5095. Now, if it's an N with the letter 5, if that's the first two letters, that's an 11th gen Intel chip. So what does that mean? Well, we're currently on 13th gen, although on these low-end budget level chips, you're looking at 12th gen is the latest. I don't think they have a 13th gen N processor. I don't think. But this chip was released in 2019. Okay, but before you stick your nose in the air, look at the price. They want $129.99 for it. Now, the model I have that comes with $129.99 matches these specs up here. 8 gigs of RAM, a 256 gig solid state drive, and Windows 11 Pro. Now, we all know Windows 11 Pro from Microsoft. Just as a reminder, if we go to, let's say, Windows, I got to go over here. Windows 11 Pro by Microsoft. Let's see how much Microsoft wants to charge us. Microsoft.com. Buy Windows 11 Pro. If you just want to buy Windows 11 Pro, and Microsoft is not going to mail you anything. You're not going to get a disk. You're not going to get a flash drive. You're just going to get an email with a product key. And you're going to pay $199.99 for that, to buy that directly from Microsoft. Or you can get the whole computer for $70 less. Or you can go to Amazon, and there's a $10 coupon for the exact same computer that gets it for a $119.99 or $80 less than what Microsoft just wants for the operating system. So for the cost, for almost half the cost of the operating system that's included, you're getting the case, the motherboard, the CPU, the cooling fan, the RAM, the storage, the power supply, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, the memory card reader here on the side. See that little tiny micro SD card reader right there? It's a heck of a deal. Okay, so who's this computer for? It's a 4-core, 15-watt processor that'll go up to 2.9 gigahertz in frequency. That's its burst speed. It has 2 HDMI outputs that support 4K simultaneously. Now, it's obviously very small. It is a mini PC, and you can hang it on the back of a screen if you wanted to hide it. But I want you to know that this is a $120 computer. Now, the folks at CyberGeek would very much like you to buy it from them. I would save the $10, get it from Amazon, where I don't know what returns could potentially be like. I don't know where these are shipping from. Now, the folks at CyberGeek have sent us the computer for free in exchange for an honest review, and that's what I intend to do, is give you an honest review of this. So let me go back over to my main camera here so you look at you when I talk to you. There you are. All right. Not everybody needs the latest and greatest, the most amount of storage, the most amount of RAM, the most amount of processing power. They might be what they say they want, but when it comes time to pony up some money to actually buying it, they don't buy that. Why? Probably because they can't afford it, or probably because there's other things in their life that matter more to them than what they actually need out as far as a computer goes. So a computer like this is good for a project box. It's good for a home theater PC. It's small and quiet, no problem streaming out of it. A computer like this is great for a student needing to go to remote learning. Some schools, I realize, require Chromebooks. Obviously, Chromebook is a very inexpensive and very limited machine, far more so than this is. This is more powerful than a Chromebook, generally speaking. I think there are some higher end Chromebooks, but this is far more versatile than that. Now, for remote work, as far as how you intend to use the computer, this is for some pretty light duty usage. When you go buy a pickup truck, you can buy a light duty pickup truck, or you could buy a heavy duty pickup truck. And if you treat the light duty pickup truck like a heavy duty pickup truck, it probably isn't going to last very long, and you're probably not going to be a happy consumer. You're going to be upset at the quality of your truck because you're using it in a way it's not designed to be used. But the heavy duty truck, it's going to cost you a lot more money. So adjust your expectations accordingly. I think at the 120 or 130, depending if you're getting it from CyberGeek PC or you're going to get it from Amazon, it'd be hard pressed to complain about what you're getting. Now, granted, things are a little bit older, but not too old. All right. So, for example, if I go look back over at the Amazon, is it the Amazon page? Now let's look at CyberGeek's page, right? Because they'd prefer we look there anyway. So let's look over at CyberGeek PC's website, and let's see how they list the specs on this. Decent power. That's fair. It's decent. Immersive graphics. Okay, 4K dual display support. It's dual channel DDR4 RAM. Oh, I didn't know that. That's good to know. It's M.2 SSD. Is it NVMe or is it SATA? I don't know yet. Comes with Windows 11 Pro pre-installed. Has some issues with that we'll talk about. It measures 111 millimeters, 111.6 millimeters by 124 millimeters by 42.5 millimeters. It weighs only 800 grams. Got a number of ports on the back here. Our barrel power connector, HDMI port, USB port, 2 HDMIs here, 2 USB 3-point-somethings, at least 3.0. Got LAN, I don't know if it's gigabit or 2.5. Well, it's probably gigabit, but we'll check all this out. There's our power button, our audio jack. That's for speakers or headphones or a microphone or a headset. We've got a USB Type-C, that's a nice touch, and 2 more USB 3s and an micro SD card reader and a Kensington lock here. Again, more information about the HDMI dual 4K output that it supports. It is, they say, thin and ultra portable. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's not thin compared to a phone, obviously, but it's about the same shape and size we've come to expect from mini PCs. And for those of you watching that have never actually seen a mini PC in person, most people say they're smaller in person than they appear on camera. So here they're comparing it with older CPUs. This CPU is from 2019. This CPU is from 2021. And this is its older, younger siblings, I should say. They're not as powerful, but in the same family, the 5000 series family. Now, they do have other models and other build outs of this with a different amount of RAM, a different amount of storage, and we'll dig into it and see what it's like on the inside here. Let me go back to camera one. There I am. Okay. Paul O'Brien says, I don't have any money, but I can still be a snob. I'm a poor snob. You know, there's an expression that says, if you accept nothing but the best, quite often that's what you'll get. And I've never really understood that expression. Does that mean you get nothing? Or does that mean you'll get the best? I think it means you get nothing. I'm not quite sure what the message is in that old saying, but I like to think that if you wait for nothing but the best, you end up with nothing. All right, so let's do the unboxing here and see what we get in the box for less than the price of my monthly cable bill. Okay, we've got our quick start guide. We've got our mini PC. Now this was originally in a, had some plastic wrap around it, which I had to tear. I opened this up last night and I'm glad I did because I wanted to get any updates it needed out of the way. Well, this ships with Windows 11 Pro 21H2. And as we all know, as of August 9th, 2023, today, 22H2 is the latest version and has been the latest version for nearly a year now. This is an outdated version of Windows 11 Pro, but when this CPU was new, the version of Windows 11 was new. Now, it's fully qualified to get the Windows 22H2 update. However, when I set this to update, Windows Update didn't offer it to me. It gave me all the updates that it was missing from Windows 21H1, but it never offered me, I'm sorry, 21H2, but it never offered me 22H2. So I downloaded the Windows 11 Upgrade Assistant, and I said, let's grab that. And then, you know, it makes you run the compatibility check, and it passes fine. It's got the TPM. It's totally eligible. And then it ran forever. First of all, my download connection is pretty slow, and the upload is big. So it took about a half an hour just for me to download the 5 gig upgrade image. And then after 3 hours, it was still in the 90 percentile range of installing. So I shut the monitor off, I went to bed. 10 hours later, when I went to check on this, it was still hung up at 99% of the install. Now that's clearly not right, and the machine was not frozen. I could still move the mouse, I could still click on things. So I just had it restart the computer. When I restarted it, I was curious if the 22H2 stuck. It did not stick. So I tried it again. I ran the Windows Upgrade Assistant again, and it downloaded much faster because it already had the image file. It just was verifying it. And then it installed it in about 90 minutes. After the 90 minutes, it restarted, and we now have 22H2. But when I went to turn on the feature to enable automatic updates, it says your organization has chosen to control updates. You have to talk to your administrator. So they've not configured this image correctly. It would have been faster for me to do a clean install of Windows 11 on this using my flash drive, and you can download Windows 11 for free. The product key is paired to the motherboard. You can just bypass the whole, when it asks for a product key, click you don't have a product key. When it asks what version of Windows 11 you want, select Windows 11 Pro. When it's all said and done, go to Windows Update and grab your updates. And at that point, it will reassign the product key that's tied to this motherboard and reactivate. You don't have to touch anything. That's the way Microsoft Windows 11 works. You don't need a Microsoft account for that. So, lesson learned. Okay, it's a $120 computer. Got it. That is a very big update. And the thing is, we're going to get another one. We should get 23H2 about every October. And we're almost to October. So that means we'll be going through this again if we want to keep it current and up to date. You could continue running 21H2 on this. However, support for 21H2 will stop getting updates before 22H2. Microsoft only supports back like 2 versions for a couple of years, and then that's it. You have to have the current version if you want to keep getting updates. Now, there may be a registry tweak or something we could get in there and manipulate to turn that off, where it says your company has chosen to maintain updates themselves. I wouldn't, because it concerns me that that's not right, and I don't know what else might not be right. So a clean install. The problem is, what about drivers? So what I would do is I would make an image of this drive, or maybe even upgrade the drive and keep the original files on here. And then when you do a clean install of Windows 11, you can put the drive it's got now, put that in an external USB enclosure and just point to it in your device manager for looking for drivers. And all the drivers are going to be pulled right back off. So that's just another way you can get around having to download drivers. I've demonstrated that before. We can certainly demonstrate it again, but it's just a tip from a technician. I do this so often. How often do you guys install drivers? So there are some ways that we can more efficiently optimize the process of a reinstall. Unless you're having driver related problems, then you wouldn't want to put the same drivers back on. So here's the machine. I'm going to bring it up close to the camera so you can see close up what we have going on here. You'll see we've got the G, or is it a C? It's the CyberGeek logo there. On the front, we've got a power button with a power LED, but there is no hard drive LED. As you can imagine, when I was doing the 22H2 update, I had no idea if the machine was reading or writing to the drive. But that's pretty common on mini PCs. It's pretty unusual to see one with a hard drive activity LED. There's our headphone jack and our USB Type-C, 2 USB 3.0 Type A's. There's our micro SD card reader. There's our Kensington lock port. There's our power connector, our 2 HDMI outputs, 2 more USB 3s, and our Ethernet jack. On the bottom, it looks like we have some venting and product information. And on the top, we've got little protective plastic to keep it all nice and shiny. Why they went with a piano black that shows fingerprints, I don't know. But again, when we're at this price point, I'd say you're getting a lot for 120 bucks or 130, depending on where you buy it. Okay, so in the box here, we've got the power adapter. And there's nothing else on that side. Haven't gone any further into the box than that. So anything else that's in here is going to be a surprise to me. So here we've got a little box that was underneath the mini PC. And that contains our VESA support bracket and the accompanying screws to secure it. And I think that's all you get. Nick Poverman says Windows 11 21H1 will not be supported after October 10th, 2023. What about 21H2? Or did he? Is Nick just not having a good day typing today? I meant Windows 11, not Windows 10. I meant 21H2, not 21H1. Welcome to my world, Nick. Now you know what it's like to be me for a few minutes. So 21H2 support will end in October. That's why you definitely want to have 22H2. Just to have the latest features, you want to have the latest security. All right, let's get this thing plugged in and turned on. As I mentioned, I did get 22H2 installed off camera, or we'd be spending the next at least 90 minutes waiting on that. Can you put Linux in? Yes, they do sell a version of this with Ubuntu. So apparently you can put Ubuntu on it. Again, as a project box, as a home lab, something, you know, you're not putting a lot of money into it, and the thing just turned on me when I plugged it in. I don't know why it did that. Hold the power button in. You know, it did this when I took it out of the box. It powered up, and I thought maybe I accidentally hit the button, but now it's just done it again. So not exactly sure what's going on with that. Not that it's a big deal. All right, since I've already got it initialized and everything, we can put the internet into it and HDMI cable into it, and then I can grab my keyboard and mouse, and we'll add that. Nick says, I've been up since 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, yeah, well, I can do that and have a good night's sleep, and I'll still do that. All right, let's go over now to the HDMI input. See if this thing is booted up on us. It did boot up on us. Okay, let's do a restart on it so you get an idea of how long this takes to start up. It's despite how long it took to put the update in. Once things are installed, it's relatively responsive. Now, it'll obviously be more responsive if we double the amount of RAM. I mean, 16 gigs of RAM is what I would recommend on any Windows 10 or 11 install. 8 is a bare minimum, and you're fine with 8. You know, the giveaways that we do, those all usually have 8 gigs of RAM. But here's their boot up time in real time. Again, my videos are live. Nothing is edited, nothing is scripted, nothing is rehearsed. That should be obvious. And we're up, I mean, just like that. But as you notice, if we go to, you know, the first thing I want to do when I get a computer, especially a pre-built brand new computer, and I advise you do the same thing, is hit that Windows update before you start getting too comfortable. And you'll see this box is shaded out. This was the same way of the previous install of Windows 11. The 21H2 also did the same thing, which was another reason why I had to go to download the Windows Update Assistant. If you look in the download folder, you'll see the 2 downloads from last night of the Windows PC health check that you have to run before the installation assistant will proceed. And the installation assistant did come up and say, your organization, we try to click on this. This setting isn't available due to your organization's policy. Learn more. We can't click on anything there about learning more. So clearly it's an old Windows 11 install, and on top of that, it's not properly configured. But if you're buying a machine like this, you might be buying it for a project box where you intend to blow it out anyway. So again, not a big deal as far as I'm concerned. If I was paying a lot of money for something and I had to do that, that would be unacceptable. But at this price point, the sort of the do-it-yourself, or it's kind of limited unless you do it yourself, or you don't know any better, that's how you can save money, right? I mean, you might be saving money, but investing more time. Regardless of that, it might be something you enjoy doing, and it might be a project box. As I mentioned, once we have installed, everything runs pretty snappy on it. You know, when I click on things, like let's bring up Microsoft Edge and see how long it takes to open. It's not bad. I don't know, CNN. Not that I'm a fan of any of these websites, but I'm bringing up sites that I know are constantly in flux, so I'm not bringing up a cached page. You know, if we want to bring up YouTube, we can do that. And remember, I don't have a fast internet connection here either. So my internet and this PC are very well paired together. All right, so let me go back over to camera 1 here for a second. I would like to run Crystal Disk Mark and see what kind of performance we're getting. I don't expect much, but I am curious if it's NVMe or SATA. Secondly, I'd like to open it up and see just how upgradable it is. Is anything soldered down? Let's take a look at the device manager while I'm thinking about it. And let's see what it says with regards to the devices that are installed, the hardware that's installed. So for example, if I right click and go to device manager here, what I'm curious about is what is our network adapter? Who makes it and what speed is it? It's a Realtek. Oh, it's 2.5 gig. Okay, well, that's worth boasting. I don't know why they wouldn't be more boastful of that on the product page. So it's 2.5 gig Ethernet. Are we connected at 2.5 gig? Let me see. Right click, network settings, Ethernet. Yeah, right here, 2500, 2500. So that's definitely a 2.5 gig Ethernet. I'm impressed. I did not expect that. But on Wi-Fi, however, we're only running 802.11ac, but it is an Intel network card. That's the wireless card. And then our Bluetooth, I think, is only Bluetooth 4.2, which currently is 5.3. So again, we're looking at something, it's not ancient, okay? It's not like you're looking at a relic, but we are looking at something that's about 2 years old on the technology side of things. And you're also getting it for $120, right? $120. It's all starting to make sense. I mean, I think it's really a good price for what you're getting, to be honest. But do know that part of the reason why it's so discounted is we are using some technology that came out a couple of years ago. It's not the latest and greatest. The latest and greatest is going to cost you a lot more money. Nothing money can't fix. As for our storage, what does it say we have for a disk drive? It's a Western Digital. Hold on a minute. I'm looking at the wrong. Am I looking at the wrong thing? I am very confused right now. I should be on this computer, device manager, under disk drives. Yeah, it's saying that's a Western Digital. Wow. Suddenly this just got a lot, the room got brighter. Okay, it's still a small drive, but the fact that it's a name brand, and I'd wonder who also makes the RAM. And we're going to find that out by opening the box up. That's how we're going to find out. Going to inspect it with our eyeballs. All right, we'll shut that down, and while that shuts down, and again, very quick, it shut down, and the power light just went off, and then we're back to camera one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to unplug everything from here because we don't want to work on it with it plugged in. And I don't want to be tethered in any way that could lead to things being mistakenly yanked out of my hands. So that is clearly, I can see now, that's our CPU cooler down there. So Uncle Carey's got to get his glasses on for this. And I don't see any screws to open this, so they must be underneath the rubber feet. Not a fan of that. And the rubber feet are just on with sticky tape. And that's all well and good as long as the sticky tape stays stuck to the rubber foot and not stuck to the PC. Now, this is not a problem typically when the unit is new, but as it ages in a year or two, yeah, that might be a whole different story. So just so you know, not that it's a big deal to get some glue. In worst case scenario, you can use a hot melt glue gun or just, you know, any kind of glue to glue the feet back on if you need to. We're going to be okay because the machine is new, the tape is still fresh. So we're good there. That screwdriver isn't going to fit. So I need my jeweler's drivers. Here we go. This is a set from Harbor Freight Tools. I think Nick Poverman, I think, sent me this set a couple of years ago and didn't have any need for it for the longest time. Now I practically use it every other video. It's a gift that keeps on giving. All right, so that screwdriver just fits like it was designed to be there. Very small, little tiny screw there. And of course, we have one in each corner. Well, let's see. Jason Ryrick says, did I see Pornhub in the list of recent videos? Recent videos. You mean when I went to the URL? Well, if it is, oops, well, I guess that just opens that way. If there's any sort of URL history, which there shouldn't, I wouldn't think there would be, and that's coming up as how they've configured this. That means that the original image from CyberGeek contains that. I don't know if you're joking about seeing that, but if that was there, it certainly makes me question the image that was put on here. Now, if we take a look, let me bring this up to the camera so you can see. This is probably one of the easiest machines I've seen to work on. Am I on camera 2? Oh, I put myself on camera 2, didn't I? Hold on a second. What was I thinking? Let's go back to, probably going to see a much brighter image on camera 1. Yeah, camera 1 is the Peter Laycock camera. Yeah, it's our new Sony camera. All right. It's tough being the producer, the director, the talent, the technical director, the writer, the script writer. All right, anyway. All right, here we go. So we've got dual channel RAM. That's impressive to see at a computer at this price point. There's our solid state drive, and it does in fact say it is made by Western Digital. So it's name brand. Who makes the RAM? The RAM looks like it's made by Micron. That's a major name brand manufacturer. Underneath the M.2 drive, if you look under here, you will see a Wi-Fi card. So even though the Wi-Fi is a couple generations old, all you have to do is spend 20 bucks on a new Wi-Fi card, take your M.2 out. The Wi-Fi card goes in just like an M.2 drive, only it's a lot shorter. And it's got two little antennas that pop off like snap-on buttons, but they're delicate, so be gentle with them. There's our CMOS battery that's just stuck onto the top of our rear I/O ports there, right on top of our HDMI ports. And that's everything you need to service it as far as the other side goes. There should be no reason for you to have to go to the other side, and I just felt the screw drop and land in the carpeting. That's great. If you ever drop something small on the carpeting, if it's a screw, you can use a magnet, run a magnet over it, it'll catch it. If it's like a contact lens, if you have a hose attachment on a vacuum cleaner, put a pair of nylons over it, and then that way you can run the vacuum cleaner over your carpet, and anything will get stuck onto the nylons. Okay, now it's going to bother me to not know where that screw is. Apparently, I've dropped 2 screws. I have 2 and I'm missing 2. So bear with me for just 1 second, because I'm sure they probably both fell out at the same time. Oh man, I thought I found one right off the bat. Not so lucky. Just wanted to look very quickly while I am here, because I will. If I don't see it right away, well, I'll just do this after the show. They are very, very small screws. Before I brought it up to the camera, I should have shaken it better to avoid this very scenario. So learn from my mistake, and don't, next time when you're making your YouTube video, empty the screws out of it first. The good news is they didn't just vanish into thin air. They're there somewhere. Oh, wait a minute, there's a third screw. So I only dropped one. I felt it hit my hand and I don't know where it went, but okay. We'll be fine. So overall, very easy to work on. You can see easy access to everything here. And obviously upgrade this. You could probably put a 4 terabyte drive in this if you wanted to, but why you'd spend $800 on storage on a $120 computer doesn't make any sense to me, but I suppose you could do it if you really wanted to. You might have to contend with potentially heat-related issues. And these memory modules are 4 gigs each. They're DDR4. And let's just leave the lid off. And let's plug it back in and we'll run Crystal Disk Mark on it. There is a space in the lid to hold a 2.5-inch drive, but they do not give you any sort of a connector. Nor do I see, even if you could get your hands on a connector, where one would plug in. So it appears that the circuit board does not afford you the opportunity to put a 2.5-inch drive in, and that they're reusing a case that potentially is used for other models that do support 2.5-inch drives. So the case will hold the 2.5-inch drive, but there's no way for you to plug it in. However, on machines like this, I usually advise people to use external USB storage if you want to expand the storage and keep the heat out of the inside of the machine. These mini PCs can get very hot, and especially when you consider the fan is on the bottom. The fan is what's cooling the CPU. There is nothing cooling anything here. There's no airflow whatsoever. There's not even a vent. So I can see where this could potentially get too hot and start to throttle when I'm talking about your storage in particular. Our vents are all down at the bottom for the CPU, so your CPU should be nice and cool. But if you start putting on high-speed, faster memory, right? High-speed memory, it's going to run hotter. If you put in a faster, like that Samsung 970 EVO, that thing is going to get toasty in here without any air movement. So I would stick with, a budget like that Intel drive. Get a budget, very inexpensive drive if you're going to upgrade this. And does this say if it's NVMe or if it's SATA? It says it's a PC SN530 NVMe drive. So this is an NVMe drive. That's good. That means it's not SATA. So overall, if you priced out these components individually, a small case, small power supply, 2 sticks of 4 gig of DDR4, what speed is it? 3200, 256 gig NVMe storage, Wi-Fi AC adapter with Bluetooth 4.2, and then a little motherboard with the CPU on it and the cooler. I would reckon you're going to be well over $120 and have a lot of work to do. And we still haven't priced in an operating system yet. Of course, you can buy Windows 11 Pro from our friends over at VIP CDK Deals for under 20 bucks. It's under $17. And it's the same thing Microsoft sells you for $199. It's exactly the same thing. Why? That's a question you need to ask Microsoft, and let me know if you ever get an answer. That's not something they like to talk about. For some reason, I can't imagine why. Obviously, manufacturers, system integrators, manufacturers of PCs are not paying $199 for their Windows licenses. They're getting them at probably even cheaper than $17, to be honest. And nobody has any issues with that. Nobody thinks for a minute like, well, are those legit copies of Windows? Yes, they are. So in any event, let's turn this back on and let's see what kind of numbers we can get on Crystal Disk Mark. When I plug this in, does it turn on? Didn't turn on me. Oh, yeah, it did turn on. The light came on just from plugging it in. So there's something a little wonky there that should not happen. It's not hurting anything, but If you're somebody that unplugs your computer all the time, apparently this thing's going to turn on every single time you plug it in. As long as you leave it plugged in and when you shut it off, it'll stay off. Just if you have to unplug it and plug it back in, it's going to turn itself back on, apparently. All right, so let's go over now to our HDMI input again. And it's already booted to our desktop. And then let me grab my utilities flash drive and we will plug that in to the front USB port. Of course, you want to be very, very cautious if you're doing what I'm doing, which you should not be unless you're just a risk taker like me and run the computer with the top off of it like that, because you have to be very careful over where you're touching it. You don't want to static shock it. And let's go to the yellow folder down here, Windows Explorer. Let's go to disk drive D. That's our SanDisk flash drive. And let's get under, let's see, Carey's, Uncle Carey's 10 optimizer. We'll copy that over. I will install VLC on this, as I always do. And let's see, Crystal Disk Mark. Crystal Disk Mark. Always the portable version. Don't want to install things unless they're going to be something that's used regularly. Okay, Crystal Disk Mark. Crystal Disk Mark 64. This. Oh, you know what? And look at that. We keep connecting and disconnecting from the network. We've seen this problem before. I think that's a driver issue. That's interesting. It wasn't doing that before. But for this test, we don't need the network. So I'm going to just unplug the network because I find that frustrating to look at. Another reason for me to just blow this Windows 11 install out and just do a nice clean install. I take my USB flash drive out. Now, we'll run all tests on our C drive. Sarge Tech said it's a repurposed case. Well, I don't know that it's repurposed. So look, if you're a manufacturer and you want to get the cheapest prices you can get so that you can make the most amount of profit or be the most competitive in the marketplace by offering your unit at a cheaper price than your competitors, you've got to make it cheaper, right? Simple business. If you're selling it for less than it costs you to make it, you're probably not going to stay in business very long. But if it's costing you more to make it than what your competitors are selling for, you've got to find a way to get your costs down. And so by not having to retool a factory, by not putting in the fastest of components, if 8 gigs is 8 gigs, why put on 8 gigs of faster memory? Why include a 512 gig drive if it's going to put you above the price of your competitor who's selling theirs with a 256? And your consumer's not looking at details like that. Generally speaking, they're looking at the price. And your average consumer, in my experience as a professional computer technician, professional since 1991 in this industry, most end users do not have more than 100 gigs of data. They're quite often somewhere between 70 and 90 gigs of data in most cases. Now, you, the viewer, watching this video may not be a typical end user, and that's fine. I'm just saying, I've been in thousands of people's homes. I've seen tens of thousands of computers, and I can tell you what the average is. And most of the time, the people who have that much data generally don't call people like me for help. They usually are more technically adept, usually, and do this kind of stuff themselves. Chris Garrett said, maybe check the BIOS for auto power on after power failure. If that's enabled, it will power on when plugged in. That's a great point, Chris, and we should look at the BIOS as well. When we're done with this test, we'll shut it back down and go into the BIOS and see what that looks like. Now, we don't have any show-stopping numbers here. At 889.1 megabytes per second, this is only 50% faster than SATA. With SATA, we get about 550 out of this. So we have the potential to go much, much faster. And we might be limited by the CPU to some extent. However, it could make a pretty big difference in performance upgrading this to 16 gigs of RAM and putting in a higher spec, let's say 512 gig drive that runs, at least 1800, at least twice the speed. That may make a noticeable improvement, but be aware that in doing so, if you add up the cost of the RAM and the storage, plus, not getting paid to do the work, just you doing it yourself for free, you're going to be closer to a $200 total price point. And bear in mind, the folks over at CyberGeek PC do offer this with a 512 gig drive and 16 gigs of RAM already built in for probably less than you could do it yourself. But that 512 gig drive is probably not going to be as fast as one that you could buy for potentially the same amount or a little bit more money. I wouldn't focus on performance if I was buying a machine of this caliber, but I realize some of you out there, it doesn't matter what it is, you want to squeak every last little megahertz out of it. And, it's all relative to how much money you want to spend and how much time you want to put into it. You can certainly upgrade it if you want to. I would rather see you take that total amount of money and buy a higher end, CPU system that's completely based on a different CPU. But to each their own. There's a lot of different ways you can choose your perspective. You can see this from a positive side. You can see this from a negative side. What's important, though, is that you understand what it is you're seeing, and how you value that is entirely up to you. And I wouldn't expect us to be on the same page when we value things. What's important to me and what's important to you. What I think is expensive versus what you think is expensive. What I think is a deal compared to what you think is a deal. It's all subjective. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong. Now, I want to very quickly, I'm going to grab my magnet here. Try something. I have this really powerful magnet, and I want to just run this over the carpet really quick because I'm just missing one screw. And you'd think it just fell, so wherever it is, it should be on top of wherever it is. But it could have rolled under something. Oh, I think I just found it. Nope, that is actually just the way the carpet looks. Carey. All right. Thought I'd find it quickly with the magnet. I was wrong. It's bounced. It's somewhere. It's here. It didn't disappear. So to get this into the BIOS, so there's our final numbers as far as benchmarks go. It's faster than SATA, but it's one of the slowest NVMe drives I've ever seen. Okay, so let's close this and let's go to settings, and then we'll go to Windows Update. I need to go full screen on my side of things, guys, because I can barely see it. And we want to go to Advanced Options, Recovery, Advanced Startup, Restart Now. And then that'll give us the option to start up into the BIOS so we don't have to press a certain key at a certain time, which can be frustrating. The good news is I see CyberGeek has an LLC in New Hampshire, in Salem, New Hampshire. So it looks like the concern of returns being any issue, that looks like that's not going to be a problem. It looks like you can ship it within the USA. So that's good. I like to see that. Let's go to Troubleshoot, Advanced Options, and UEFI Firmware Settings. And now when I hit Restart for the second time, that should take us right into the BIOS, and we can just kind of look around in here and see what's being offered. Okay, we've got our RAM information, our BIOS version and build date. It's fairly new BIOS for March 27th of 2023. Security, we don't really do anything here in security. Interesting. Don't think we've activated any of this. It's just basically telling us that it's compatible, this drive, or some kind of storage security, but I'm not quite sure how that works. Wake on LAN is enabled. Auto power on is power off. Boot option 1 should be boot manager. Boot option 2, I would just disable. Boot option 3, I would disable. And boot option 4, I would disable. That does mean if the hard drive fails, I'll have to get into the BIOS to reconfigure a boot order. Yeah, there's our boot option 1, Windows Boot Manager, Western Digital, SN530 drive. And that's it. It's pretty simple BIOS. There's no real advanced area. We can't adjust the power level or anything like that. So simple. I would call this simple. Let's save and exit, and we'll restart. Again, you'll get to see how long this takes to boot once more, just to make sure it's consistent in its boot time. And we're back up. And I'm going to plug the network back into it. Just want to see if that problem continues where it was connecting and disconnecting us. And I'll put VLC on here. Next, install. Salem in Massachusetts. Well, there's a Salem, North Carolina. There's a lot of Salems in the US. There's a lot of main streets too. Okay, so VLC is now installed, so I can get rid of that. Now, I don't really want to spend too much time on this install because I think I want to blow it out and just do a clean install of Windows 11. I'll just run Uncle Carey's Windows 10 optimizer on it just because it only takes a second, and then we'll make those changes and restart one last time. And I think that's pretty much all there is, unless you have any specific questions that I have not addressed. What do you guys think of a machine like this at this price point? What are your honest thoughts? When I'm offered to review these mini PCs, what's going through my mind is guessing what the audience is interested in. Because at the end of the day, I have no idea what the vast majority of people are interested in. And it's not necessarily what you're interested in, okay? But it's about the majority. So I'm interested in some feedback if you want to see more budget machines, more project boxes, or lower end light duty use computers that are very affordable. Would you rather see more mid-range? Would you rather see more high-end gaming rigs? Or would you rather see something else entirely? And specifically, what are your thoughts about this box? Can you name some pros and some cons? Can you do both? Can you find both the good and potentially the downside? You don't have to pick a side. You can go right down the middle and say, well, I could see where this would be beneficial in this scenario. I could see where it would be a nightmare in another scenario. That is the kind of information I like to provide because there's no telling what somebody else's needs and budget are, what somebody else would find acceptable. Now, I continue to see this down here, this little world globe struggling to get us a connection. That is disappointing. So what we could do to address this is simply update the driver. And the way I would do that, the driver was made by Realtek, right? Right click on the start menu. Oh, there, it just loaded it. No, it just went away. So this is a Realtek driver issue. We did see this before. Device manager. Network adapters. It's a Realtek Gaming 2.5 gigabit Ethernet family controller. So we can go to Realtek's website and we can download that driver. A lot of people with these mini PCs are going to put them on Wi-Fi and will never experience this particular issue, but it's an easy issue to resolve. It is a driver-related problem. All right, so let me take a look into the chat room here. see what you guys have to say. I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts. Sarge Tech says it is substantial bang for your buck. I agree. I agree with you 100%. Jason Wyrick says, I think it's a great budget PC. There's some question about the address here, the Salem, New Hampshire. If you look up zip code 03079, where does that zip code point? What city and state does that zip code 03079? What city and state is associated with that zip code? David Martinez says it's good price. Gilberto says, yes, more budget PCs. Mike Johnson says all of the above. Big Poverman said the biggest problem I have with this is the Windows Update problem. The average user would not know how to fix this. Yeah, well, again, you could send it back. You could reach out to their support. They do have email support. That's CS, as in customer service, at cybergeekpc.com, and it's written right here on the side of the box. And Alan Lindos has looked up that zip code, the 03079. It says it points to Salem, New Hampshire. There you go. Asked and answered. And Bahan Guy also confirms. Pete Tracker says he doesn't like Celeron processors. Well, that's okay. You don't have to buy it. Anything that's greater than the Celeron is going to set you back more on the budget. So we're looking at a $120, $130 price point. What would you buy for, say you have $120 to buy a brand new computer and you don't like Celerons. So what would you buy? Brad Revel says it's very interesting. I agree. That, and again, another reason why I agreed to do this video. One, it's a company I've never heard of. So CyberGeek PC, they're new to me. I don't know how long they've been around. And security cameras. Would you mind checking the front door?
Yeah.
Alan Lindos sent an Amazon gift card for $7.77. Thank you, Alan. All right. Imagine, guy said, I'm thinking about getting it for my pastor and his wife, who are not heavy computer users like I am. Perfect. And Linda said you could take the $120 and buy a 1 terabyte Gen 4 NVMe Mini PC. Oh, that's interesting. We've got a package here that I wasn't expecting.
Not for you.
Oh, it's not for me.
Yeah.
So I was recently scammed on eBay, and I thought for just a second, maybe he wasn't a scammer after all, and that was the camera I ordered. But no, it's definitely a scammer.
Way too light.
Ah, well, the box looked about the right size. There you go, ordering stuff.
When I-
All right. False hope. Nick Poverman said for 120 he'd buy an off-lease mini HP, the HP Mini PCs. Well, those that are that price range aren't Windows 11 compatible, though. Maurice Williams said the PC is very excellent, and I agree with Mark Stump. It can be a great business, and it can help the company. Paul O'Brien said it's worth the money spent on this mini PC. So, okay. when we're talking about, is it worth a certain amount of money? The question is compared to what? That's, if you say, no, I wouldn't buy that, then I'm asking you, at that $120 price point, what would you buy that's better than this? And the answer is nothing, right? That's what we see over and over from the people who say, no, I wouldn't buy that. There is no PC that those people would buy at $120. There is no such PC made that would meet their requirements. They have to spend more money. They have to. So bear that in mind when you're looking at other reviews or hearing other people's thoughts, that comparing this to a $4,400 hand-built streaming PC is not fair. Obviously, I could buy this, I could buy like 30 of these units. Think about that. For what this one unit cost me. So obviously I can't use this PC to put video capture cards to have 4 cameras in it at the same time. It's just not possible. However, I could certainly use it for streaming if I want to put a USB-based video capture card in it with 1 input, maybe 2 at the most. As a home theater-based PC, perfect. It's quiet, it's out of the way. It's small, it's dark in color, so it's not going to stand out in your media room as, you want the focus and attention to be on the screen. Or as a project box, certainly a step above, a big step above a Raspberry Pi. So as far as capabilities go, much more capable than a Raspberry Pi, and you're darn near at Raspberry Pi prices, assuming you can even find one available anymore. They've gotten expensive. Sarge Tech said, what happened on eBay? With eBay, I bought a used camera that I wanted to try here as a secondary camera. Camera's about 10 years old, 1080 HD camera with 2 lenses. And it should sell for around $600, and somebody was selling it right at the right price. They only had one feedback, and that was as a buyer, not as a seller. And I thought, well, the good thing about somebody with no feedback is there's not a lot of bidders. And it was sort of a buy it now option. You could bid on it, or you could buy it now. So I picked the buy it now. With sales tax, it was $651. So the next day, I don't get any shipping information. So I emailed the seller, messaged the seller through eBay, said, can you provide me with the shipping information? Heard nothing back. The next day after that, eBay messages me that the seller has provided tracking info. So what that means is the seller has clicked the button to buy the postage off of eBay, where it prints out the mailing address and everything, so the seller can't alter that. But when you click the tracking information, it says that the tracking number has been created, but the post office does not have possession of the product, of the package. So, okay, I'm taking it to the post office. We hit a weekend. Okay, now it's the Monday. Now we're on Tuesday, and the tracking information hasn't changed. So I messaged the seller and said, can you give me an update on when you're going to ship this? No response. Then there was a deadline, and eBay said, if you don't receive it by Tuesday or Wednesday, come back here and you can open a case. So I waited. In fact, I waited just after midnight. So it was the next day, so I could file my case, because at this point, strongly suspected I was dealing with a scammer or somebody so new to eBay, they don't know what they're doing. So eBay said, we've reached out to the seller and give us a couple days. And almost immediately, they sent me an email that said the seller has updated the tracking information. So what the seller did is there's an option in eBay where you can provide tracking information manually. You don't have to buy your postage from eBay. So what the seller did is they provided a United States Postal Service tracking number to my zip code. And they said, okay, so now the clock starts over for the shipping time. And if you don't get it by, the 8th of August, you can ask us to step in. So on the 7th of August, it said your package has been delivered, but there was no package delivered. I have cameras all over. There was no delivery. And it says your package was delivered to your zip code, but it won't show me where. So I reached out to eBay and I said, look, we're clearly dealing with a scammer here. What is the process? Because you have buyer protection. And they said, well, there's no buyer protection for you. This isn't exactly what they said, but I'm going to tell you the way I read it. You don't get buyer protection. You see, the seller has proven they've shipped something to your zip code and that it arrived. Therefore, you file a claim with the post office. Check with your neighbors. Maybe it was delivered to one of your neighbors. Again, I have cameras. Why would they take it to one of the neighbors? Maybe they misdelivered it to one of your neighbors. Either way, don't worry, they tell me. Your package is, all eBay packages are insured, and just file an insurance claim with the post office. Well, have you ever filed an insurance claim with the post office? It is a very time-consuming, paperwork-heavy process. So I said, no, this is fraud, and I want my money back. And they said, your claim is denied, and this case is now closed. Click here to file an appeal. So I clicked the appeal button, and I explained, here's the scam. And then I went to PayPal, which is what I used to pay for it, and I filed a claim on PayPal of fraud. Then eBay said, we're closing your case on your appeal since you opened up a case with your payment processor. Now, eBay owns PayPal. PayPal has said, we'll look into this. We're going to have our security department look into this and we'll get back to you. So for right now, it's an open case that PayPal is investigating. In the meantime, I got on the phone to the post office and I said, okay, what do I do? What do you recommend I do? Here's my tracking information. Can I find out, first of all, how big of the package was? Did they just send an envelope? Because this is a camera and lenses. It should be a sizable box that weighs at least 6 pounds. Number two, where did they ship it to? Was this an honest mistake where they transferred some numbers? And they said, we'll send that to your local post office, right? Because I'm talking to like the universal customer support. We'll send a request to your local postal office and they'll reach out to you. So I got an email from my local postal service that shows the package was delivered half a mile down the street at a old folks home, at a assisted living facility. So I got in the car and I drove over to the assisted living facility and I said, did you guys get a package yesterday, just around noon, a little before noon, that was addressed to me? I said, no. Every package we get, we have a list of all our residents and it would go to whatever resident. We had no packages that did not have known recipients. Is it possible someone else would? No, I go through the mail myself. If a package is not for one of our residences, we wouldn't accept it. All right, so the plot thickens. So the post office told me the package, it looks like it's a 3-inch thick box, like maybe a priority mail box, which there's no way a camera will fit in. It weighed 14.4 ounces. But they don't tell me who it was addressed to. So I don't know if they're working with basically a mule who, hey, you want to earn a few extra bucks. But the idea here, if you think about it, is eBay says you're not covered under the buyer protection because we show a tracking number was created and it was delivered to the zip code. The post office says this is not an insurance claim because we delivered the package on time where it was supposed to be and intact as it was addressed. So that leaves the buyer on the hook for the $650 in this example. That's not going to work for me. So I reached out to the press, eBay's PR company. I emailed eBay's CEO. I emailed eBay's customer service. I contacted the US Postal Inspection Service. They wanted me to go online and fill out a mail fraud. This is mail fraud. So I said, okay, so I went and I filled out that information and that's all done electronically. And if I hear anything back, who knows? Probably not. So now my hope is that PayPal is going to be able to say, oh, we can see that it wasn't shipped to you. We can tell from the dimensions on the box, but that's assuming PayPal's getting the same information that I got from the post office. If on the other hand, PayPal comes back and says, it looks like they sent you something and it looks like it arrived, then I've got to appeal that and say, okay, here's my evidence. Here's where it was shipped. Here was the size of the box. Here was the weight of the box. It was clearly not a mistake. They intentionally shipped it in my zip code because that's all the tracking information will provide for privacy reasons, right? And if they deny me a second time, then I'm left with a $650 bill that I'm responsible for. I mean, that money comes out of my PayPal account. And if PayPal does not reimburse me for that, then I'm out that money. And I desperately want, I've asked somebody in the media relations department of eBay to have an interview with me as an independent journalist to investigate and discuss why eBay allows this, and if there's anything eBay is going to do about it to prevent it from happening in the future. And in the meantime, I'm going to raise as many flags and shout from all the rooftops to warn people about this eBay scam. If there's any reason to buy from somebody with a decent amount of feedback of history of purchase, buying and selling history, this would be the reason. The risk you take when you're buying from somebody new on eBay is that could be just the latest new account that scammer has opened every time they get caught, or every time the eBay shuts the account down, they open another one. So they're perpetually always at zero feedback, where they buy something really inexpensive and they get like one feedback, potentially. Not that the seller has to leave positive feedback. And this seller had one feedback as a buyer. And the benefit is you can get a cheaper price, because the lack of confidence on behalf of the seller means fewer people are going to take the risk. So it was a fair price. It wasn't too cheap. It wasn't too good to be true. It was the going rate. And it was the best looking one that was available. And I understood the risk, but I thought, eBay will have my back, right? No, eBay does not have your back. This whole, eBay makes a big deal about buyer protection. If we go over to eBay, let's go back to the other machine here. Let me demonstrate. If we go to eBay, and let's say we've never shopped at eBay before, we don't know how all this works. Buying and selling, or bidding and buying help. So this is explaining how the site works. Ask eBay to step in. They basically will tell you, they reiterate over and over and over again that they are a safe platform. You have buyer protection. They state it in bold, and now that I'm looking for it, I'm not seeing it. But there's a lot of, buyer protection, promotional information on the site. If you've ever shopped on eBay, you've seen it. Trying to reach anybody at eBay is almost impossible. When you click the contact us button, you're just basically going to, what is your problem? Well, my problem is I didn't receive the item. So it's not really under any of this. Okay, my problem is a buyer. How to buy? No. How bidding? No, it's none of these. So I want to talk to them, right? Because my situation isn't even offered here. Where do I go? Shipping and tracking information, account, I don't know, shipping and tracking. So the whole point is the thing I need to look for, they don't even offer as an option, and the ability to even chat with somebody doesn't exist anymore. It's gone. And when you do talk with somebody in email, it's somebody in India, and even their emails are written in broken English. And the way they speak is really weird. The grammatical sentence structure is like you're talking to a foreign AI. It's very, very strange. So in any event, I was dealing with that yesterday. I also, I thought I was going to go live yesterday. I had a dental appointment. Unfortunately, my appointment card had the wrong time written on it. So the dentist had messaged me and said, where are you? And I said, well, I still have 2 hours. He said, no, your appointment was at 11. I said, no, my appointment's at 1. Well, when they wrote my appointment down, they made a mistake and they only wrote 1 o'clock. They didn't write 11 o'clock. And I didn't think to look at it. I'm sure that's what we agreed to verbally was 11. And I can't remember. I take the appointment card. I type it into my Outlook calendar as a reminder. Because that was done over 2 weeks. The initial work was done, and then the follow-up was a little over 2 weeks later. So I don't remember what we talked about. I did a lot in those 2 weeks. And they said, that's okay, you know, can you come in at this other time? We'll still see you today. And I said, great, no problem. Long story short was I didn't have any time. When all that was said and done, there was no time left for me to make a video. So, and while that was going on, I was going back and forth with the post office and with eBay. And I'm still waiting to hear back from eBay. I'm still waiting to hear back from PayPal. I'm hoping PayPal will see in my favor. If they don't, I will have one appeal. And I intend to provide all the information I have now that I did not have when I initially opened the case. So now I have the size of the box, the weight of the box, the actual address it was shipped to. And now I understand how the scam is working. Dom Long says, I don't shop on eBay anymore because of getting ripped off. Well, again, if you look at a seller's feedback rating, if you've got a seller that has, you know, a couple dozen feedbacks. I mean, I've seen like the sellers I'm buying these little HP minis from, they have over like 10,000 feedback. And they're like at a 99% ratio. So I'm very confident that I'm going to get what I ordered. Also, Newegg sells on eBay as well. So if we were looking for, I don't know, one of those Asus flash store NASs, good luck finding them. I think B&H Photo has them. I think Newegg has the 12 drive model. You can buy it on eBay and it'll say the seller is Newegg. So Newegg sells a lot of product through eBay, and there's no different from ordering from Newegg, except that eBay handles the payment processes and Newegg pays a commission or whatever the fee is to eBay. But you're still going to get a box that says Newegg on it that's shipped from Newegg. Just all your invoicing and receipts and everything are all going to be eBay. So you've got to be a smart shopper when you're buying at eBay. And I knew the risk I was taking with the seller only having that one feedback and that it was an item they bought, nothing they sold. But everybody deserves a chance, you know, to get started. But scammers are ruining it. And so I thought, well, eBay will obviously protect me if it's a scam. I was wrong. eBay says, nope. Despite the scam is very obvious. The fact that they changed the tracking number with no excuse, eBay needs to do something about that. And I fully intend to pursue an interview with somebody at eBay, whether it's in the security department with their executive board, someone on the executive board rather, or with their media. And I intend my local television news station. Let's say PayPal says no and I appeal and PayPal says no again. Then my next step is to go to the guy on your side part of the news. We have 2 news stations, local news stations here in Phoenix that have consumer advocates. And it's a free service. And if you have a problem with a company and you've tried to resolve it and you've just reached a dead end, you reach out to these folks and they have volunteers, and a portion of those, a small percentage of the cases that they help people resolve, they will turn into a piece on the news. But regardless, as it's becoming a piece for the news, or whether it is or not, they reach out to the company and they say, hi, my name is so-and-so from CBS News in Phoenix, Arizona. We have a story here about a consumer who's made a purchase, and here's the purchase information. You know, they collect my information, and we'd like to interview somebody there for a follow-up story on this. And most of the time, the company says, oh, no, we'll give them the refund. A lot of times the news, for the stories they pick to air, the person says, I've been working with trying to work with them for 2 months. Then I contact you, and in 1 day, I got what I wanted. And one day you guys did it. I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you so much. And it's amazing who's making the request gets a different answer from some of these companies. In the meantime, I'll let you know how it plays out. But right now, I'm hoping PayPal will see the pattern here, that it was the initial tracking number that's printed out by eBay was never used, that a tracking number was provided manually after the deadline, or right as the deadline was being met, where eBay would say, okay, seller's no response. So the seller is trying to run the clock out of everything as much as possible. I've messaged the seller 4 times. I've been ignored 4 times. I left feedback in all capital letters on their account saying that they are a scammer, do not buy from them. And I tried, to make it as bold and as large and visible as possible for anybody. They probably wouldn't even try to sell from that account again. But I mean, if there's no feedback left, what have they got to lose to just keep relisting the same thing over and over and keep repeating the same old thing? So I was dealing with that yesterday. And again, what's my time worth? I'm not getting reimbursed for all of this investigation that I'm doing. Although secretly, I really enjoy doing this investigation. I enjoy driving over there to the nursing facility and trying to find where there's packages. What does it look like? Who did they address it to? Can I have it? Really, it's up to the postal inspector. That's their job. Or it's up to the police department. In this case, because it deals with the United States Post Office, the law enforcement goes to the postal inspector. And I still want an answer from eBay as to what they're doing about this, because they can't say they don't know about it. Just explain the whole thing to them. And if you pull up the tracking information, you can reach out to the post office and see where that package was shipped. It's very obviously a completely different address. It's not like they inversed a number. This was an intentional deception. And again, they can see the size and weight of the box, which clearly does not have a camera and 2 lenses in it. Just common sense. But eBay has outsourced their customer support to India. That much is clear. And the people in India are not speaking language as a first language. They don't have proper sentence structure. And they're being told to just respond like a robot. It's basically human AI. They do not think for themselves. They are not allowed to think for themselves. They are just bureaucratic, follow these steps, heartless, don't care, not our problem. There's a tracking number shows it was shipped. It matches your zip code, case closed. Check with your neighbors, maybe they got it. Never mind that I have cameras and that no delivery attempt was made. Never mind looking at the size and shape and weight of the box. They don't bother because that information requires you contacting the post office, because that information is not made public. You'd have to have a reason to have that information. And we do have that reason. Now, I don't expect this to be resolved overnight, but I do expect it to get resolved and for my money to be returned to me. John Williams says our local station for CBS has call for action to help consumers get what they ordered. Yeah, so we have a couple of stations here locally that do that, and it's free. So anytime you have a problem where you're not getting satisfaction, whether it's an airline or an Airbnb or whatever, do try to work it out. And when you've finally given up and said there's nothing more I can do, that's when you bring them in, but don't wait too long. They have postal police. Yes, they do. Was that our mail today?
Yeah.
All right, well, that can go right in the old circular file. All right. If it wasn't for junk mail, I wouldn't get any mail at all. Does the eBay seller account still run? I don't know. I haven't looked. But I've left negative feedback, so. Easy Otter said, make a YouTube video about all of this. Once I have a resolution, I intend to. And I would very much like somebody on camera or an official statement from eBay telling us why we shouldn't have to worry about this happening to you. Tell us why we should have any faith in eBay's buyer protection program if this is how you're handling it. What are you going to do about it? Is everything still going to be the same? Are you going to change your procedures? And when I have those answers, I'll have the end of the video. So right now we only have sort of 3/4 of the video. If PayPal does the right thing and they identify this as a scam and return my money to me, then thank goodness for PayPal. But remember, PayPal is owned by eBay. So we're not exactly dealing with an unbiased third party. If this was Discover, I can almost guarantee Discover would immediately give me the credit back. And for $650, it's an insignificant amount of money to these big companies. There's no reason a company like eBay. Well, first of all, that money went somewhere. That seller's account obviously has PayPal. So all they have to do is follow that money. And since we're striking while the iron is hot, there's a good chance that that seller hasn't got their money yet. Because I opened a case with PayPal, they likely have not released those funds. Maybe they have, but that's not my fault if they did. So this should be holding up the seller from receiving their money. But PayPal needs to investigate, who is this account that I'm reporting? Is this a new account? And where's this money going? And they have their own security and fraud department as well. So here's hoping they're competent and they do their job. Because if I can do it and that's not my job, the people who do it for a living should be better at it than me, don't you think? I don't think PayPal or eBay are going to go out of their way to find a reason to refund my money. But they should be on the prowl for looking for scammers. And again, it's not chump change. $650 is a lot of money to an individual, maybe not to a corporation. And customer confidence is worth how much? So if I, as a result of this, let's say I didn't never get my $650 back, worst case scenario, every avenue I go down, I hit a dead end. I will never buy from eBay again. And I will make enough videos about this to remind and warn people. It's going to cost eBay an untold amount of money and lost sales from people who will be now afraid to shop there because they trust me when I share my information with them. And if I tell you eBay is not going to protect you like they say they are, because this is what's happened to me and it will happen to you too, that will absolutely guarantee result in people who were going to buy from eBay taking their business somewhere else. The amount of loss is way more than $650 if eBay wants to play the long game. I'm not going to put eBay out of business. That wouldn't be my goal anyway. But I definitely want them, I mean, if I got to feel a little bit of hurt, they need to feel it too. If they're not going to make the hurt right, well, then we'll both lose. How about that? Lee Goldstein says eBay sold off PayPal years ago. Oh, they did? That. Guess I've been out of the loop. Let me take a look here. Who owns PayPal? In 2002, PayPal was bought by eBay for $1.5 billion. eBay spun off PayPal in 2015, which will be listed as an independent entity. Today, PayPal owns brands like Braintree, Venmo, Zoom, and iZettle. So it appears that eBay still owns them. The largest shareholders are the Vanguard Group, an asset management company with an 8.4% share, and BlackRock, which owns a 6.7% stake. So who owns the other 84%, 86%? It became a wholly owned subsidiary of eBay 2002 with public IPO. It was an eBay subsidiary from 2002 to 2014. And then eBay said it's going to spin off PayPal into a separate publicly traded company. Yeah, so it does appear that eBay is still a major investor in it, from what I'm gathering from this information. So unless I'm misinterpreting it, they just simply spun it off, but they still own it. They just separated legality of the relationship between eBay and PayPal. Now it's like this is eBay and this is PayPal, and they're two different companies. But when you follow the branch, they go to the same trunk of the same tree. Two different branches, same tree trunk. All right, so that's what happened there. Does anybody have any questions or any information that I have not provided on the CyberGeek Nano J1? Did I ever say the name of this? It's the Nano J1 CyberGeek Mini PC. Yes, I've been on eBay since 1997. So that's 26 years. I've been on the same eBay account for 26 years. So when I report to eBay, and I pointed it out to the eBay's customer service, I've been on eBay for 26 years. I have never received a negative feedback ever in 26 years. The seller has never sold anything on eBay, and it's a new seller account. And they said, yes, we understand that. However, the seller provided a tracking number, and that tracking number shows it was delivered. Therefore, your case is closed. That's insane. Mark Gaines says, Carey, you missed my super chat. My apologies, Mark. Let me go back and see what I missed here. Charles Vandola with a $2 super chat. Thank you, Charles. Paul O'Brien contributed €2, says, make sure Mammy is well fed and watered. Is Mammy a plant? Mark Gaines contributes 10 pounds. There he is. Thank you, Mark. Cheers, my friend. Mark joins us from Northern Ireland. Mike Visions joining us from the UK contributes £2, and Avery Ramsdorf contributes $4, both in Super Chat. Thanks, you guys, for continuing to support the channel. So, what do you think? Should we give this Nano J1 Mini PC away? Is that what we should do? Bradley Morris said, I purchased Office 2021 from VIP CDK deals using your coupon code. Thank you. Yeah, saved you a lot of money, didn't it? That's awesome. Well, thanks for letting me know. And again, when you use my coupon code, not only do you save money, but you're also supporting the channel. So thank you for doing that. This is always the interesting part for me, is I'll ask people, do you think it's a good value for the money? And there's always a couple people that are like, I would never own that. It doesn't matter what it is, right? It's not good enough for me. They say, okay, we're going to give it away. Suddenly, you might see the same people who said it wasn't good enough for them nominate themselves for the giveaway. Bruce Lucas says, Carey, hello, drink some Gatorade, and sure, give it away. I'll pass it on through. Others may need it more. John Williams says, yes, it would be a great home theater PC. Absolutely. You know, look, as a general PC for checking email, paying bills, watching YouTube videos, it's very good at what it's designed to do. If you want it to do things it's not designed to do, you probably aren't going to be happy with its performance. Again, if you buy a light duty pickup truck and use it like a heavy duty pickup truck, you probably aren't going to feel like your light duty pickup truck is any good because you're abusing it and using it in a way it wasn't intended. So with proper expectations, I think it's a great deal at 120 bucks. And again, if you buy it from eBay, you have a 30-day return window as an Amazon Prime customer that you can return it for no reason at all. You don't even have to have a reason. As long as you put everything back in the original box it came in, the shipping is free. Just take it over to like a Kohl's store or Whole Foods or a UPS store. And in most cases, once you put the product back in the product box, you don't have to put it in a shipping box. You don't have to pack it. And you don't have to pay anything. So, peace of mind. Steve Chappelle said it's good for a $120 PC. Exactly. Jason Wyrick says, I'm tempted to buy one for my parents. Patrick said he said eBay for, did I say eBay? Apparently I said eBay. I meant Amazon. Thank you. I got eBay on the brain right now. You were just talking about, this is why people do not do live videos and they can edit all that and fix it. But yes, I meant to say Amazon Prime customers have free returns for 30 days. eBay, on the other hand, yeah, not so much. But thank you for that correction. Dave Hall said, I'd buy it since it's right up my usage alley, but I have too many desktops already for now. Give it to someone that needs one. Is anybody nominating themselves? That's the next question. So you guys are agreeing, yeah, we should give it away, but to whom? Let me grab a colder Gatorade. This one's gotten warm. Mike, thanks again to the folks over at CyberGeek PC for sending us the unit for review. I do want to say this. If you're a manufacturer and you want to send a product to be evaluated and reviewed with a content creator or a magazine, you should send your best product. You shouldn't send your cheapest product. The problem that you run into is if this is our first impression of your products, they seem a little old and cheap. Because you're basically getting a 2-hour advertisement, right? We're going in-depth, exclusive content. We're not talking about anything else. We're not talking about any other competitors. We're talking about their brand, and this is the specific model and the specific specifications. If the folks at CyberGeek would have sent us their best model, the best thing is this is our introduction. This is an example of some of the quality that we make. I might sound a little more enthusiastic, but sending us a machine that's this low end with only 8 gigs of RAM and only 256 gigs of storage, when they sell it with twice that, if they have any issues about the level of enthusiasm or lack thereof in this video, it's their fault for sending me something of this design, of these capabilities. And if this is the only thing we've ever received from them, then is this all they make? Is this what we can come to expect? In other words, if I'm somebody with under $200 to spend and I need a computer, should I be thinking of CyberGeek? Or if I'm somebody with $2,000 or $200, does CyberGeek meet those needs as well? Or are they like a one-trick pony? Is their specialty on budget machines? So to introduce themselves with such a low-end build, I think is a wasted opportunity, because a video like this would cost them somewhere in the neighborhood of around $3,000 to $5,000, and then they would have to pay to air it, like if it was a commercial. In fact, a commercial would actually cost closer to $30,000. But for a content creator here on YouTube with a highly targeted and engaged audience, it's several $1,000s in value that they're getting for free here. And so to squander that with something that doesn't show off the best of their company, I think is a missed opportunity on behalf of CyberGeek. Unless that's all they make. I don't know. First impressions. Jiro says CyberGeek is not available in Amazon in Germany. Disappointing. Well, it's good to know. I see Gil Garcia nominating himself. Yeah, so to nominate yourself, you must be at least 18 years of age or older. You must be in the United States, and you must not have received a gift from this channel before. That way everybody can get a chance to receive something instead of one person getting a bunch of things and a bunch of other people getting zero, getting bumpkins, nothing. Mark Gaines said that mini PC would have been ideal for my nephew, but they're not available in the UK. Yeah, and unfortunately, Mark, if I were to ship this to the UK, it would probably cost more to ship it than it's worth. And when it arrives in the UK, the government will hold a ransom that you have to pay. It's a customs fee or an excise tariff, an import tariff based on its value. And they will give you, I think, 30 days to come in and pay the ransom, or they send it back to me. Shadow Dash Media is nominating themselves. I don't recall ever seeing them before. I would certainly be more likely to give a gift to somebody in our community that I recognize. And if you're new here, we'd love for you to stick around and be a regular, you know, so that we could identify that you're part of the community. Not that it's a requirement, but it's definitely a preference. Barry Klein says, so what you're saying is it likely won't do Photoshop or video editing. Oh, it'll do it. It's going to be a while. It'll do it. Very, very slowly. It's not built for that, so yeah. Tell you what, those of you who are wanting to nominate yourself, do so when the video's over. There's going to be a comment section because we're live right now. We have a live chat. But once the video ends, it's going to be like any other video, and there's going to be a comment section. In the comment section, you can nominate yourself and tell us why we should pick you. We want to send this to somebody who will benefit the most. For somebody who's just looking for a box to tinker with, that's fine. You can nominate yourself. And if you're the only one that wants it, then it's a real easy decision. But if we've got somebody else who actually really needs it, we want to make sure the person who will benefit the most is the person that gets selected. So again, 18 years of age or older, must be in the United States, and you must not have received a gift from the channel in the past. So that way we give everybody an opportunity. And then what I will do is I will look through the comments. What's today? Today's Wednesday. I'll look through the comments on Monday, and I will select somebody from the comments. I think that'll be the best way to do that. People that are prioritized are military veterans, public servants, people in police, fire, medical profession, recognized members of the community, just people whose names that look familiar and they participate in the chat on a regular basis. And then, of course, barring all of that, this is the order of priority that I'm selecting. So it never hurts. It won't cost you anything to nominate yourself because, like I said, you might be the one that's selected to receive it. And Jaitesh has renewed their membership. Thank you, Jaitesh, who's now a member for 2 months. Is it 2 months? Barry Klein says the link in this video has that costing $129.99. So I guess you didn't watch the beginning of the video, Barry. So that's what happens. Come into a live video and you miss the beginning. There is a link below. I don't know if you saw that when you look at the video notes. There's the link that goes to CyberLink, and then below that is a link that goes to Amazon. Click on that Amazon link, and then there's a little coupon for $10 off. Or just simply rewind this video to the part that you missed, and you'll see where I bring up the Amazon site and I show that. One of the downsides as a content creator of doing live videos is a lot of people will pop into the video well into the video, right? It could be an hour into it, an hour and a half, 2 hours, and they've completely missed everything that's already been talked about. And then they ask questions for everything they missed. Whereas if I just released a video, like a normal video, that would never ever happen because obviously everybody would be watching it from the beginning. But in a live video, you're going to pop in where it is in the live video. And please be aware that when you're watching live videos, rewind that video all the way to the beginning if you're not there from the start. And then you can play it back at, 1.5 or 2 times regular speed to catch up with us. Or simply don't participate in the chat. Just go back and watch the video from the beginning. And then the video ends and your question hasn't been answered. Then, of course, ask your question. But the rest of us have been there and done that. Jero says, best channel, Carey. Thank you so much for all the research. Well, thank you, Jero. Thank you for hanging out with us. Michael Dane said he's getting ready to make his 153rd computer to give away to a veteran in his area wanting to go back to school. He's giving away a 9th gen i7. It's an 8th gen. He says it's a Gen 9 i7 8700K. Well, if it's an 8700, then it's an 8th gen. If it's a 9700, then it's a 9th gen. It's got 16 gigs of memory and a 2 terabyte solid state drive. Regardless, that is a nice machine. It's a lot of storage and a lot of RAM and a fast processor. So nicely done, Michael. Nice choice of parts there. Gilberto says, I love this video. I learned a lot. Right on. David Martinez said CyberGeek Mini PC has a 1 terabyte mini PC. That's the one they should have sent you to make a good impression. Yeah, I really think they missed an opportunity here for showcasing what they're capable of instead of kind of aiming down. You know what I mean? But maybe that's their target audience. Maybe they really want to sell just budget machines and they don't want to sell mid-range or high-end machines. I don't know what the logic is, but something worth considering if you're in the budget for a higher end machine. I don't think CyberGeek's going to come to mind, but if I'm in the budget, if I've got a budget and I'm in the market for something entry level that's a good bang for the buck, then I would think CyberGeek would come to mind. Is that what CyberGeek wanted us to come to, or I don't know, but it certainly leaves me with that impression. It's not bad. It's just like, it makes me wonder, is this as good as what they offer, or do they offer something better? And why would they not send us the better unit to get, they're getting free exposure. Why would you get free exposure on a lower end item when you can get free exposure on the higher end item? Which one makes you look better? I don't know. Maybe it was intentional, maybe they didn't think it through. No idea. I appreciate they sent it to us. I appreciate the opportunity to look at it. And then we will find somebody here in our audience that we will give it out to. We'll ship it out. So again, your nominations will need to go in the comment section, not in the live chat. And because YouTube has no direct messaging system, you'll have to come back to this video and look for a response to your comment to see if you've been selected. So check back on Monday afternoon and you should see a response. if you're selected. If no response, then you weren't selected. And if you got a response from somebody that isn't me telling you that you're one and you have to go to WhatsApp or they're directing you somewhere like that, that's a scam. That's a scammer. And that's why I always make sure all comments are held for approval. But replies, on the other hand, you might see a reply even though I didn't approve it. And the scammers will do that. They'll tell you, get on WhatsApp, or, they redirect you. So make sure that if you get a response, it's actually coming from me, because I'm going to have you email me. So I would never, ever tell you to go to WhatsApp, because I don't have a WhatsApp account. Never have. Probably never will. So, all right. I think that's going to wrap it up for us for today. Thanks again for all the contributions that came in during today's live video. And that's, again, thank you to Mark Gaines, Charles Vandola, Paul O'Brien for the super chats, as well as Mats Olof. Oh, I missed that one. Mats Olof joining us from Sweden, contributes 100 Swedish krona. Thank you, Mats Olof. Thanks again to Avery Ramsdorff. Thanks to Jitesh for renewing his membership. And thanks again to Sarge Tech, Paul O'Brien, and Avery Ramsdorff for the Amazon gift cards. Did I miss anything? Let me just check before we... Oh, Alan Lindas, thank you for the Amazon gift card. Ooh, see, I almost missed one. Anybody that goes out of their way to support this channel in any form, it's very important for me to say thank you to them individually, because those people who do that make up a fraction of less than 1% of total viewers. And it's because of them that I'm not here basically making a big commercial for CyberGeek, because they're paying me to tell me what to say. I can be honest with you about what this is. I can be honest about how I feel about it. And it's not a bad unit. It's just, it's $120. And I think you're getting a lot for $120. That being said, it's not a rocket ship. It's not a gaming PC. And if you want to spend more, you can obviously get more. I think you would be hard pressed to find something equal to or better than the specifications of this unit, brand new under warranty with Windows 11 Pro, for the same price or less. If you can prove me wrong, do it. I don't think anything exists that's going to be a better deal than this. That's all I'm saying about it, right? As to what value it provides you, that's for each individual to decide. I just want you to have proper expectations that what you're getting is directly in relation to how much you're paying. That's going to wrap it up for me for today. Thank you to Camera Girl for today's thumbnail. And that'll wrap it up. All right, guys, I will be back tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And of course, always every Friday at 1 o'clock Pacific time. And yeah, I've got a bunch more content I got to get caught up with. I was really wanted to be live yesterday, but things happened. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is I have more content than I have time to make it. So we will have videos Thursday and Friday, and maybe even over the weekend too. I got to get caught up. So thank you again for watching. Thanks for all my friends in blue and in green, and everybody with the gold badge next to your name for supporting the channel. If your name is in white and you're in the chat room, I hope you continue to join us so that your name becomes familiar to me. That's all it takes to be turned blue. I just need to be familiar. And the way you get familiar is continue to participate in our chat, continue to be friendly. And I will acknowledge that by turning you blue. And that means when we do giveaways and I see somebody in blue is nominating themselves, hey, they're going to take preference when I select a recipient. Also, when I tell you you have to be subscribed to nominate yourself, I can see if you're subscribed when you leave your comment. It'll show a little subscription icon. So if your comment says I'm nominating me, but your name doesn't show the subscription icon, I'm not talking about membership. I'm talking about the free subscribe button. If you haven't pressed that and you've nominated yourself, and I don't see that the subscription icon is next to your name, well, I will tell you my preference is if there's two people of equal need, neither, they meet the requirements, but one has the subscription icon next to their name and one doesn't, I'm going to pick the one with the subscription icon next to their name. So just so you know, there is the reason for these giveaways is to try to get more viewers, try to get more subscribers, and try and grow our community. It's not to have somebody come in, take something, and leave, and we never see them again. They can do that, and it's not breaking any rules if they do. But my intention is to try and weed those people out because they're not benefiting the channel at all. And these are going to cost me money and time to pack them up and ship them. I'm paying for that. And that's coming from the contributions that you see so generously offered by the regulars here in the community, which is why I want to prioritize regulars in the community to receive the gifts. But it's not isolated strictly to them. It just depends on who's being, who's nominating themselves, whether or not that person is a member or a subscriber, whether that person's received anything from us before, whether that person's a recognizable name in the chat room. All of those things are weighed under consideration of priority. So that's pretty much the way we do the giveaways. And we do hope that regardless of the giveaway, that you choose to be a part of this community just because it's a cool community to be a part of. We'd love to have you. That'll wrap it up for me for today. Thanks for watching. I will see you all again very, very soon. And until next time, bye for now.